good
Hello.
evening. Welcome. Just me and Ian tonight, guys. So
Hey.
give us a shout. Give us your opinions. Tonight we're talking about spirit communication. And if you consider the amount of clairs that there is, I mean, not everybody might know what clair is. Clairsentient, clairaudient, all different ways that people pick up with spirit. And we all have different ways of doing it. Me and Ian, we've got the lot. We pick everything up, even smells. But not everybody does. Some people just hear things. Some people just smell things. We all have different ways of going about it. So that's what we're talking about tonight. Initially, I'm sure we'll go down a few rabbit
holes. Yeah.
So, in your opinion, then, Ian, what's your forte? What do you pick up most, and how do you communicate?
Well, mostly I communicate through voice recorders because although I do hear them on occasions, it's very rare. So generally, I would use the voice recorders, which I seem to get a lot of response from, going on the fact that, as we've spoken about frequencies before, I've got two completely different voice recorders, so the frequencies are different. So that's my main forte as far as communicating is.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, and we have talked about that. We talk about it a lot, me and you. I put a lot of store in frequencies. Good evening.
Hello.
I put a lot of store in frequencies, and of course, equipment then will correspond with different frequencies, so you get different responses from different pieces of equipment. Because that tends to baffle some people, not me, but you know, it's all down to how sensitive you are. Any piece of equipment for me has to have a decent psychic or medium or someone with a gift to actually allow to interpretation, really. Between any piece of equipment, you've got to interpret it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get it wrong, to be honest. I'm just speaking my mind.
Yeah. I mean, I know what you mean. I mean, all the years I've been doing private cases, one thing I have, have actually pinned it down to, they're very cryptic. They don't just come out and tell you something. It's like they give you little snippets.
Well, exactly. Yeah,
You've got to try and work it out.
Yeah, they do like to play games. I mean, that's what they're there to do. What's that? I can't see all the writing.
Kelly Elliott saying my house is extremely active.
Ah, right.
Yeah. The house I grew up was as well, so I know exactly how you feel.
When you see mine, isn't it's a previous tenant, and she only calls every now and again. I know when she's here because she never comes upstairs. But what she does do, she taps on bottom step because she spent most of her time in living room and on. I can't explain it really. It's a step outside. It's the platform. It's a step down onto the road.
Oh right, yeah, gotcha.
It's a back street. But my garden's across the road. It's a weird setup, even though it's a cul-de-sac, you see. So there's not much traffic, but she had it raised so that there wasn't much of a step to get out at house. So it's a concrete step initially outside the door, but then she had some steps at one side and a ramp at other to be able to get in and out. And then she had a little raised wooden rail so she could pull herself up. She spent most of her time shuffling about on her hands and knees and on her butt, which was quite surprising when I first saw her. I thought, what are you doing? shuffling across bottom steps, across bottom stairs, and I thought, "Ooh, that's a bit odd." Until she explained to me, I had a conversation with her, and she told me all about it. And oddly enough, I still know her daughter. And when I spoke to her daughter, telling her daughter that I picked her mother up and blah blah blah, oh, it was proper good conversation. Right, what's this one?
Yeah, I think Kelly was saying her house was only built 4 years ago, and it's something to do with the land. About 2 years ago, they did an archaeological dig in a field next door to me, and they found quite a lot of things. Found an Iron Age village up there and dead bodies. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
can
me.
understand that. I mean, I live in Hastings, which is basically a battlefield. So
Yeah, exactly. I'm blessed, really, where I am. I'm surrounded by things, especially at War at Roses and what the class as civil warrior with Roundheads and Cavaliers. But there's loads and loads of places. Not too far. One of my favourites on my page, if everybody's seen it, is a place called Church Led. It's a tiny little church in the middle of a field. There's nothing near it, but that played a major part because it was a staging post. And one side would take it one day, and then the next day they'd rally and charge and take it back. So that place saw a lot of bloodshed, both sides, and it shows. And again, because of that, it's certain days you go and you pick up on, and other days there's nothing. It's ideal, it's quiet, nothing. Too quiet almost, you know what I mean? There's nothing whatsoever. It's dead, literally dead. And I don't mean that as a pun, literally quiet. And as I said, and then next time you'll go in, there's shadows, there's orbs, there's all sorts. It's brilliant. What's this one?
3 paranormal teams at my house, and they've all said it's active.
Well, yeah. But you were in it, aren't you?
Yeah. Hello, Christine.
I can't see Arthur comment me.
That's Christine saying hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I mean, as Christine will vouch for, I also use pendulums for communication. I think when we was at Ashwell Prison, I actually helped a spirit moved on, and then quite soon afterwards, someone who didn't like the fact I did it made themselves known. And the whole atmosphere in the room changed. So I said, okay, mate, we won't do any more. But
yeah, I get that one, Kelly, as well. I've had that at Spofford, where one spirit would talk, and there were different timelines as well at that, which that's another thing that surprises me. I don't think I've ever heard anybody mention spirits from different timelines communicating, but I've witnessed that a few times. That's really interesting, that one.
Yeah, Christine, that was a weird experience. I mean, to me, it's a daily thing, but to have something suddenly make its presence known that it wasn't happy, what I'd just done. But the funny thing was, I had the Obvulus as well, and Christine started singing a song, and the Obvulus finished it.
Yeah,
and that was impressive. That really was impressive.
Yeah, I've not done that because, as I said, you know me, I don't use a lot of equipment. Good evening, Kenji. Yeah, I just love all paranormal, really. But since the pandemic, I've done a lot of churches, and it surprised me because, as I've always maintained, a church that's new or a church that's going back to, say, 1600s. Before that, if a church is older than that, then you're more than likely going to get a lot of activity. But since that, there's not a lot goes off because everybody in there has been blessed, and the spirit that's connected to the names on the graves is usually somewhere else.
Yeah.
They're visiting family, friends, whatever, or they're around the place that they passed on. They're not in a graveyard. They're not in a church because they've been laid and blessed.
Yes, exactly. I mean,
Yeah, go on.
most graveyards only have a couple hanging around.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm quite surprised about our local cemetery, because it's like a supermarket. But then
Exactly.
we have Mr. Crowley to thank for that.
Yeah. Evening, James. Yeah, and I think it's also as I said, why is this then? See if you can enlighten people. I know what it is myself, but pre-1600, the reason why cemeteries pre-1600 has a lot of activity, there is a reason for it.
I know a lot of things changed in the 1700s. Was it to do with consecrating?
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, in a way. But what it is, 1600s, a lot of churches were disillusioned, and Henry saw to the end of clergy in that respect. There was a transition. So before that, there's a lot of places where the council, local councils, and people that weren't ordained was doing a lot of burials. So they weren't blessed. There was a different regime. People were buried without being blessed. So their souls are not at rest.
Yeah.
Hence, there's a lot of activity in these places. And again, not a lot of people click to that.
No, very true. Another thing that happens with churches as well, which I think is a bit silly, is when they stop using a church, they deconsecrate the ground. Why?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you'd think they would leave it because it's a graveyard for a reason. But well, yeah, it's if you are disrespectful when you're there, I totally agree.
Yeah, but
Um,
I don't. I never film. A lot of
I
people
mean,
do, and I don't agree with it. They put the name on screen, and I won't do that. I'll take a
no, no,
picture
no.
of a gravestone, but I'll leave the name out.
Yeah, I mean, as far as our local graveyard, I mean, we're investigating our local grave because it's all part to do with why ours is so haunted, and it's to do with Alistair Crowley. But if you're going into a graveyard, you've got to be 100% respectful. You're there to help whoever may be trapped there, and not there to make a name for yourself. And you have to be completely respectful the whole time you're there.
Correct.
There's a lot of videos I've seen of people in graveyards, and I don't agree with, the way they've investigated at all.
Yeah. So
At the end of the day, this cemetery, my grandparents are buried in it, so it's everyone else at that place. I give them the same respect as I would my grandparents. So
yeah, exactly. Yes, Kelly, she's clairaudient, and James. Yeah, you see, that's something that I actually don't agree with, and I think Angie agrees with that one. People that take these sacred places on, chapels and churches, and convert them. Once they start messing with them, again, especially if the pre-1600, I wouldn't condone that whatsoever, because you're 9 times out of 10 going to get activity, and the souls that surrounding the place, they won't like it. It's common sense they're not going to like it. It's their resting place at the end of the day, and
exactly.
they are there because they haven't been blessed, they haven't been moved on. So yeah, I don't agree with that at all. Isn't it,
Cliff,
Cliff? Well, like I've said, I can't see too much of a problem if it's being done respectfully, and graves have been moved to another location, because at the end of the day, it's just a vessel. If it's been blessed, it's literally just a memorial. There's no real activity. If you look at memorials, for example, that are active, they're usually not the person that's been laid to rest, the people that's gone and maybe had a suicide pact or killed themselves or whatever, that's active on that memorial. It's not the person that it's the memorial is for, because that person was blessed. So again, it's been what's the word? Savvy. Knowledgeable. You've got to go into things with some knowledge. Like I've said, personally, I don't research anything, but once I do find out and pick up, I'm respectful on the day.
Yeah.
Which is a big thing, because there's a lot of people that may research something, but they're still not respectful. They want to go and provoke. I totally disagree with that.
No, I completely disagree with that. Completely. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't know what you're dealing with, and provoking could backfire on you. So it's a stupid move in the first place. But it's also disrespectful to those, that don't mean any harm to anyone.
Exactly. Which brought a question. I saw it earlier on today. Ouija boards. And I think we've mentioned it before, but it was a question, a legitimate question. What's your opinion on using a Ouija board on an investigation?
Personally, I don't. I've been to events where they've had them, and I have used them in the past. And usually with me, it is something I would only use as a last resort. And I think the problem with them is it's the intent of the users.
Yeah.
And you can't control the intent of everybody that's on it. So.
Well, exactly. You see, my opinion on Ouija boards is a Ouija board is a device it's not. How can I explain this one? It's a device that's it's not governed. Let's put it that way. It's open. It's like a portal. It's like a portable portal. So you could get anything coming through that. Whereas I use something that's very similar, and it's called a spirit board. But that spirit board is blessed. And there is no symbols on it whatsoever that would allow an entity, a demon, or anything untoward to come through it.
It wasn't Zozo, was it?
No. Yeah, Ken, yeah, I totally agree. There's lots of ways to communicate, and that's what we're talking about tonight is spirit communication. So my actual way to communicate is literally my senses. I can walk into a place within 2 minutes of being there. In fact, before I even get to a place, sometimes I can sense, is there any activity? What's going off? Who it is? I'm on it. I am on it. And sometimes I've had a full group of people, and they're so looking forward to something going off because they want to be scared. 90% of paranormal researchers, they're not researchers. They just want to, the thrill seekers, basically. They want to go out and get scared.
Yeah.
So if there's nothing going off, it's boring. That's the level of investigation that a lot of people have got. Now, to me, it can be boring to them because, as I say, I've already picked up, I've already sorted it out. As soon as I walk in somewhere, I know what's going off. And I'm bored. I'm bored because it's dead. There's nothing happening at all. There's no spirit, no nothing. So I want to go. I want to move on to the next location. And everybody else wants to stop. They're wanting to pick something up. They want to be scared. And I'm saying, but you're not going to be. You're just going to be jumping at your own shadow. because there's no spirit.
Yeah. I mean, Christine's asked, do you think that people who choose burial would want visitors?
Yeah,
Well,
I was going to answer that actually. Go on, I'll let you answer it first.
I mean, generally that's for family, isn't it? It helps with the grieving process and all that, and it's like my family will go up and visit my grandparents and leave flowers on the grave on their birthdays and things like that. It's all part of the grieving process, isn't it? And
Yeah, for the living.
for the living, yes, yeah, because the deceased don't have a grieving process, do they?
But they can. That's why they come back as
Well,
poltergeists
yeah,
and things
they
like
come back
that.
and wind you up like my grandparents do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I don't think you necessarily have to visit their graves to remember them because that's in here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in your mind, obviously, and in your heart. And that perfect example, like you said, because my memorial for my mum and dad is in the edge of a park, and we've got a plaque that's on a bridge, particular bridge where they used to go courting. So it's a memorial, and it doesn't matter where that is. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever you want to put it, we have churchyards, we have cemeteries where there's a collection of people. It's somewhere that we can all put a memorial to the people that we used to love and miss. It's just somewhere to visit for the living. So when you mentioned, is that not somewhere that the spirit would like? No, as I mentioned, because the spirit 9 times out of 10 is not in a cemetery. That spirit
Exactly.
is round you. It's round the people that they loved,
Yeah.
round the places that they used to go as living, which 9 times out of 10 is where they lived, in a house.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why we get called in, such as me and Ian, to do investigations. What's going off in my house? Because people are so naive in a lot of respects. The people that's not sensitive, they want to know, why is there activity in my house? It must be a demon. And it's not. It's just people that they love a lot at times,
Yeah.
but they can't communicate.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Angie says you can't always get stuff from spirit, and that's very true. I mean,
Definitely, yeah.
if you did all the time, my private cases would be done like that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when you've got something in there that's causing havoc, they're not going to tell you who they are or anything. They go very quiet,
Yeah,
which is why you need full blown mediums. Then at least you get some sense of what's going on in the place.
exactly. Yeah, Nate, you're right. And Angie, it's a misunderstood thing, and this is a human failing for me. If things aren't in somebody's face, if you can't see something, if it's not tangible, you tend to dismiss it. It's not something that you follow or try to investigate because it's not tangible.
Yeah,
It's like seeing a cat outside and you know it's just gone into a bush. So you go out and you know where to look. It's in that bush somewhere because it's alive.
yeah,
With spirit, it's different. If something passes through a wall, you're flummoxed. You ain't got a clue, and it's scary.
yeah.
Why? I don't know. Me personally, I don't know why that is.
And
But
you definitely can't follow it either. Walk through a wall.
exactly. So communication, it's such a it's a good subject, that, Ian, really is, because we all communicate in different ways, even in life. Some
Yeah,
people can explain themselves and some people can't. They go, "Blah, blah, 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 blah." What's that? Well, I know what I meant. You know,
yeah,
well, we didn't. So communication in life's difficult enough. So in death, oof.
yeah. I mean, we did a case a long time ago, and I had a medium with us, and she said to me, "The guy's shouting at you." I said, "Well, I can't hear him." I said he's going to have to communicate me some other way. And then it was probably a time I wasn't very grateful for, but he started putting images in my head, and
Yeah.
and it showed me how he died, and I thought, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had vivids 2 or 3 times. I mean, I pick up in lots of different ways, but the most vivid, I mean, was when I first knew I was psychic, and I was 9-year-old. But the other one, it's only about what, about 18 years ago. And I think I've mentioned it in another cast that I was going home. I'd had a little bit too much sauce, so I said, right, we'll walk home to the lass that I was with at the time. And she knew I was sensitive. And we'd seen these blue lights on his way home up this other end of these woods, or the side of Main Road. And as we set off on this hike up the main road, there were a policeman walking down the road saying, it's blocked, you can't go up. I says, I already know what's gone off. Obviously, there's an accident. I says, but listen, we live up there. There's no other way to go, which there weren't. I says, the other way is going to take us 5 mile round where we want to go. I says, we'll not interfere. You walk back up with us and we'll just keep going. There were 2 bodies, 2 people stood at the side of this policeman. And they're talking to me because they knew I could see them. Just like I'm talking to you now. And they're trying to ask me what's gone off. They're covered in blood. This how vivid this sighting were. They were covered in blood and they were in spirit. But they didn't know it had happened that just, 5-10 minutes before we'd seen this copper. I said to Jane, I says, look, talk to the policeman while I talk to these 2, because if I start talking to thin air, he's going to think I'm crackers. So I'm talking to spirit and she's talking to policeman. And I says, look, just follow us back up, get him back at ambulance, and you'll find out what's gone off in due course. And that's what they did. And the next morning, it were on news that 2 out of 3 people in one car, because it were an head-on collision, 2 cars, had passed on, and I'd seen them. So that's how vivid it can be. It doesn't happen like that at all very often.
No.
But it did that day because they couldn't shield themselves. They were new in spirit and didn't realize they were in spirit. So they hadn't learnt anything about being invisible, shall we say, to sensitives. They wouldn't be visible to the copper and the lass stood outside of me and whatever, even though she were interested and she was sensitive to some extent. She could sense something, but that's all it were. It were like, what's that? Hairs at back of your neck. That's the extent of what she got. And I was seeing them like I'm looking at you. So communication it's a wonderful thing if you've got the gift. But you've got to have the gift. And then, is it natural, or are you trying to learn, trying to be more sensitive? There is ways to do it, but a lot of people don't do it the right way.
Well, yeah, there is that. I mean, I mostly rely on equipment for communication, but there is the odd time when I don't need it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it does sort of make me think, what the heck? Yeah, full time, thank you. But
as audience has gone quiet, have we got any questions, guys?
So Eric said, I saw 3 cats the other day. I only have 2. Yeah, I'm forever seeing it. My wife had another black cat before I met her. We got 1, but her previous black cat, I'm forever seeing it in the dining room.
Yeah, had you been on sauce, Eric? I'm only kidding. Sauce. Yeah, and that's another thing as well. There's so much life on this planet, and some people talk to plants, some people tree hug. because that's their forte. That's the way that they work. Vibrations, frequencies. They're more in tune with that sort of thing. But yes, I have, Christine. Since I was a bairn, 9-year-old was my first vivid sighting. It's something that scared me as a kid. I'm a sensitive person in more ways than one, and that used to scare the shite out of me. Excuse my language, but it did, and it worked for years until I literally learned that my great grandmother was a world famous psychic, and they used to come for the tea leaves and crystal ball and all that. I had no knowledge of that whatsoever, and my mother never told me up until not long before she passed on. And I says, Mother, it's about time you told me. Where do I get this from? Because it's not gone away. I've tried my best to ignore it, and I've tried my best not to follow it because it scared me. But as I've got older and wiser and realised what it is, I've embraced it. And she says, oh, be a great grandma. I said, why don't you tell me that when I was a 9-year-old, when I thought I was cracking up?
Yeah. I mean, when I was a kid, I basically had the full set. And after years of living in that house, I basically learnt to shut things off. And then I had a motorcycle crash, and then some of it came back. And I'm glad the full lot didn't come back, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm quite happy with what I have.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, Kenji. Where's Brimhill? Yeah, there's quite a lot happens around that place. And yes, there's 2 women actually, different times of year again. And they can get mistaken. And this again is something that you have to do like me and Ian do. You've got to go with all the variables, not just your own, what you pick up. Everybody has a story, and there's more than one story in any given area. And there's 2 women in spirit round there that I know of. And again, and this is what I'm trying to explain. That's my experience, that there's 2.
Yeah.
Yours is 1, and somebody else, there may be 3 or 4. You know what I'm saying? So you can't put it in stone again. It's not written down. It's not recorded, shall we say, especially suicides.
Yeah, everybody's paranormal experience is personal.
Yes.
And, you know, how a situation makes you feel is going to be different from somebody else's. It's like when I was sensing things, I had to learn off our medium what I was picking up on because I didn't quite know what it was.
Yeah.
He would say to me, right, there's an aggressive spirit here. Whatever you're picking up now is telling you that's aggression. I went, oh, okay. And that's how I learned how to decipher between what I was sensing.
Yeah, but even that, if you think about it, Ian, there's an aggressive. Now, that would go on his opinion of what's aggressive.
Yeah.
Because everybody has a different tolerance, like pain threshold. So again, you've got to take all them variables and ask questions. And I would say, well, what do you class as aggressive? Because to me, it might be acceptable.
Yeah, true. But you know, the way he would sense that was different to the way I was. So I basically had to learn by being in the situation and him telling me, right, well, that's somebody that's confused. And I go, okay, now I understand how I read confused. And it's, you know, especially when you're younger and you've got none of that information at all.
Exactly.
That's why it scares the living hell out of you because you don't know what's going on. The first time, I remember the first time I had 2 come at me at once, and they were both strong spirits. It frightened the living hell out of me. I thought I was about to die.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it really is. Yeah, Kerry. I do believe that's the lady with the Jack Russell. The what they call them pied, is it? But brown and white patchy. Little Jack Russell. near the back at res, not too far from Birdhide, if I'm not mistaken. Because there is two that I've witnessed anyway. There is two ladies around there. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong. I don't mind. Well, I get it wrong a lot of time, and that's part of course as well, is getting it wrong. There's a lot of people that's got so big egos, they hate to be wrong, and they will dominate and try to bully you into accepting their opinion. It's everybody's opinion. Everybody's got an opinion, and I'm not bothered me if somebody says, "Well, this is what I've got." I said, "Fine, that's what you've got."
Yeah.
And what I've got is totally different.
Yeah.
But it's all good. It's
As
all
you
good.
say, we don't have the answers. Everybody, you've just got to put everything together.
Yeah, we've got a snippet.
Yeah, as a collective, and then you probably get all the information then.
Exactly. That's what I try to do. I'll try to pick up, and then I'll go on whatever my team is picking up and piece it together. It's a patchwork, isn't it?
Yeah, which is what I said earlier about them being cryptic buggers.
Yeah, we're not all tuned into the same frequency. We've got all different vibrational levels. And what you're picking up, you can't push it on somebody else. If they ain't got it, then they ain't got it. It don't mean to say they're not picking up. They're just not picking up what you're picking up.
Yeah.
And people don't do that. They're so bombastic about it. Well, I've got this and I'm a psychic and what I say goes type of thing. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
No. Well, the thing is, with being in the paranormal field, you've got to be open-minded to other people.
Yes.
And you've got to be open-minded to the fact that you don't know everything, because none of us do. Yeah, she's right.
Yeah, to some extent, yeah.
I mean, protection's just like putting on a stab vest, isn't it? You know, if they work out how to get round it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have had it, but I tend to be able to put a bubble around it. But you've got to make the people in your team aware.
Yeah.
And you have to educate them in that if you enter into a contract with a spirit, i.e., you acknowledge them, and they're a negative spirit, they will dominate.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all a contract, and it's all going in, being aware of what's around you. You're going wide open, obviously, because that's what you want to do is communicate with spirit. But you can't be surprised if they do, and they don't like you being there. So I do put a bubble around people, but I educate them first, and I'll say, look, do not. If it's something nasty, don't acknowledge it. Ignore it. Turn your back to it. Basically, they can't do anything if you're telling them they can't do anything. Yeah. The minute you say they've got a green card, basically, you're entering into a contract, and you can be possessed. You can have some negative experiences.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I've done it a few times in my younger years. I'll never do it again.
That's all part of the learning curve.
Of course it is. But there should be something. I really think there should be something. I wouldn't say courses. I wouldn't go down that line and start with stupid money jobs. Getting a course and getting a certificate to be this and that and other. No, I wouldn't go down.
That sort of thing's good for helping you become better. I mean, I've got a diploma in parapsychology. I didn't do it to become a parapsychologist. I did it to make myself a better investigator. So I then knew how to debunk things better and what signs to look for. And that's the whole reason I did it. Am I a parapsychologist? No, not in the slightest.
but you're aware of how it works.
Yeah,
And that's the
I'm
point.
aware of how I know how it works, and it makes me better at being able to debunk things,
Yes.
and whether I can put a logical explanation on something before I
Yeah,
even
but
look at paranormal.
yeah, exactly. But that's the same in one respect as being a bricklayer. You can be a bricklayer, but are you good at it?
Exactly.
There's
Yeah,
some
yeah,
crap
yeah.
bricklayers out there.
But I mean, it's like my team, we have an apprentice now, and he's definitely got the right ethics, and it's sort of like we take him in, do the investigations, he's in the background, and then we loosely bring him in. So he's learning on the spot, which is probably the best way to learn.
Yeah, I like that word, Ian. I like that word, ethics. And I
Yeah.
don't think there's enough in the field.
Well, when I first met, I was contacted by the British Paranormal Society because MJ Dixon gave them my name because they were looking for a team down this way because this kid wanted to become a paranormal investigator. And when I met up with him, as soon as he told me, I want to help people, I want to help spirit. I don't want to get in it for fame and everything. And
Yeah.
straight away, you've got the right ethics. Yeah, you can be in the team. So we're training him up, and hopefully one day he'll form his own team. So,
Yeah.
there'll be another team out there with the same ethics we got.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people are that eager, but the big thing is, yes, exactly, Kerry. It's the eagerness, it's the wanting to speak and connect with spirit. But there is so much ethical things you need to learn first,
Mm,
and the right way to go about things,
yeah.
which is not necessarily ethics, but the right way to go about things sometimes. And like I've said, if you are sensitive to spirit, you know immediately, no matter how much personally you want to communicate, do they want to communicate with you?
Yeah.
So you can walk into a field full of little bunny rabbits, dead ones, because somebody's been in with a gun. And that's a perfect example. There's a place up North Yorkshire we've been to, and there is loads of bunny rabbits in there. And the guy he runs the cafe in the village further down, but he was given license to get rid of these rabbits that were obviously digging graves up, which again it's a human thing. You don't want desecration. Desecration, is it? No, it's not. It's a cycle of life. There's a song we've got as an anthem. It's called On Ilkley Moor Bartat. There's not many people know the full verses to that, but there's quite a few. But basically, it's a nature song, and it says that if you don't look after yourself, you're going to die, and then nature will take over.
Yeah.
There's a few verses to it, but basically, nature's going to take over, and then when we come and catch these ducks and eat them, we'll have eaten you. It's the cycle of life. So when you take that into consideration, everything has a cycle, and I'm all for maintaining a memorial to some extent, but not to the detriment to nature. If a rabbit wants to dig an oil in my grave and eat grass that I've grown, crack on.
Mm,
It's
yeah.
it's a cycle of life at the end of the day. Why would I deprive another living creature some sustenance? I mean,
Well, exactly.
we
Yeah.
put a lot of store in that we're decent people, and if somebody could come knocking at door and they were homeless, you'd give them a cup of tea and something to eat, wouldn't you? But would you? You know what I mean? Would you actually? If somebody were watching you, then maybe you would. But if there's nobody watching you, they get your sense, sod it off, get on, get out get away from my house, you scruff. That's what you'd do in actual fact, wouldn't you? You wouldn't be nice.
Yeah, very true, isn't it?
Well, I didn't see it, it went off. But we'll just look at Christine's. I've had another lady spirit in my house since I moved in 24, yeah?
Yeah, 24 years ago.
Yeah.
Harmless, no troubles or frights, just body limbs being seen. Belonged to a group for 4 years now, and after telling them, they insisted on coming around my house and doing a full investigation. Huge mistake. I ended up with my peaceful spirit gone and was replaced by a really evil, nasty, spiteful spirit that I was 100% sure was a group member's father who was really angry. Yeah.
And how did you pick this up? Because we're talking about communication. So how did you get to that statement?
Have you read that comment? A rabbit with a dash.
I've never seen a rabbit with a dash.
Could be a first.
Yeah, it would. Then Twims would come and ate up there, that right, Cliff? Yeah. There's not many verses to that. I could sing it, but I'm not. That's for another show. That'll be a Christmas show when I'm pissed as a fart. It's all great. But yeah, communication, like we're saying, everybody has a different way of picking it up and communicating it. As I say, there's all the clairs. I like them analogies as well with clair sentient, clairaudient, and the rest.
Yeah, I've got a list. I've got a list somewhere of them all. See if I can find it.
Yeah, find it.
Right, here we go. Oh, here we go. Right, you've got.
By the way, Annette, while he's finding it, we were supposed to have been on your show and we haven't been on it yet. And I've not seen any of your shows either. Have you packed in or what?
I think she had a break, didn't she?
A break? She's watching us. So wonder she entered a breakdown.
Right, I found the list. Here we go. Clairvoyance, seeing the spirits of the dead. Clairaudience, hearing the spirits of the dead. Clairsentience, sensing, feeling the spirits of the dead.
Yeah.
Claircognizance, psychically knowing information about a person dead or alive, event or location.
Yeah.
Clairgustance, sensing spiritual tastes.
Yeah.
Clairalliance, sensing spiritual smells. And that's it.
But there is a few, this is what I'm saying, and they're well explained, really. And I like that because there's very few, and I don't care what anybody says, in actual fact, there's very few that have got the lot.
Yeah, very true.
So if you have, then you're blessed. Yes, exactly, Eric, because it takes a lot of energy. It really does.
Yeah, sensitives and mediums do all suffer from headaches.
Yeah.
Which is what people don't realise.
When you've done a really good session, a really good investigation, yes, you have to go and recharge your batteries. And everybody, again, vibrational and... Oh, good, brilliant. I'll join you one day. She's saying, no, you ain't.
No, I've got something in the pipeline, which I will let people know of.
Good. You're invited. Yeah, but Kenji, right? Come on, keep your socks on.
Pipe smoke. That's quite common.
Yes, it is.
I remember my mother's grandfather. That's how she knew he was around. And I remember once when I was a kid, we were driving to London, and we were belting it down the motorway. Well, I say belting it was the 70s.
So about 50 then.
But suddenly we had pipe tobacco in the car,
Yeah.
and nobody smoked. The
Yeah,
windows shut.
yeah. With me and my dad, it's Brill Cream and Old Spice. Scent
Oh.
seems to be the most common one. Is a scent of a person that you want to communicate with, their favourite fragrance. And with me, it was Brill Cream and Old Spice. I know my dad's around me when I smell that.
Yeah, my grandmother, it's lavender. If I smell
Yeah.
lavender, I know she's around.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that I think that's the most common sense. Even people that don't follow paranormal, you know what I mean? There's usually something to do with a scent or odor or, you know, just a feeling, basically. As I said earlier, like hairs on back of your neck. It's just a feeling that somebody, like the feeling of being watched.
Or the feeling of someone walking over your grave. That's always a big giveaway. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I get
Like
chilled to the bone, I always know there's someone too close to me.
Yeah, I always feel like I'm coming down with something, but it only lasts like 5 minutes rather than you actually coming down with something.
Yeah.
So there's loads and loads of different ways. But to actually communicate, you've got to act on these things.
Yeah.
That's when you start to ask questions and get your voice recorder out. And I'm glad you've got an EVP, Kerry, because we'll be using that. By the way, Angie and Kerry are part of my team. I just thought I'd mention it.
Well, I was going to ask how she smelt cigarette smoke in your car.
Well, I used to smoke, but not anymore. Even with it, you know, I've only started recently using it again, but I don't take it back. I just like the flavour. It's licorice. I get licorice and I like the flavour. So I get it in my mouth, mull it round my mouth, and then blow it straight out like you're supposed to do with cigars.
Yes.
But not a lot of people do.
No.
They try taking it back and making the sense feel sick.
Exactly, yeah. Cigars do. If you, I made that mistake once. The first time I smoked a cigar.
Yeah.
Gee, that was something else.
Yeah. I tried using them cigarellas at some point, but I did smoke for, what am I now, 63, so about 50 years ago. I used to smoke anything, including if I run out, I'd nick some herbs out my mum's cupboard.
Oh, I did that once.
I've tried all sorts.
Yeah, don't try and smoke bay leaves.
No, I have, and sage, and thyme, and tea bags, and straws out at garden. It's a wonder I'm still here. But actually, my lungs aren't as bad as my ticker. It was the cholesterol side of things that did me. I ended up having a heart attack because of cholesterol. So, yeah, it's an odd one, that, isn't it? My lungs are actually good. That's the only reason I'm still here. So, does anyone get pressure?
So I've had like, and it's usually family members that I've been told that they stand behind you, put their hands on your shoulder. I've actually had that a few times. It's almost like they just let you know I'm here. We've got your back, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say pressure, but you could actually feel somebody's hands.
Yeah, pressure. Yeah, touch pressure. I've been scratched Christ, 3 times, 2 or 3 times, 3 times. I've been scratched 3 times, physically, when there's been nobody there, and they've managed to get that close to do it. I've sensed them round me, but I've had my back turned, and I've been concentrating on looking after everybody else in team that I haven't looked after myself enough, and I got scratched 3 times. The last time, it was at a previous college site, and all the buildings that they used to use for college have the derelict, and I managed to get in before they fenced them off. They're relevating them now. They're doing them up as, I think it's like holiday lets of all things, but it were a full site, private college. And I were upstairs, and I got everybody in front of me, and I'm trying to put a bubble around them, and I weren't concentrating enough. And this entity managed to get me back at neck. Nobody else batted an eyelid. I said, "Whoa, I'll just be." No, they were too busy, like I said earlier, trying to get their fix. They totally ignored me. I thought, yeah, shit. But yeah, I soon remedied that. Put a bubble round us all. What was that? That was quick again. And then what did the minute say?
Yeah, that was Annette saying, yes, I do like hands. Lynn says, yes, me too. They are leaning on you. And Annette says, on my last investigation, I got grabbed by the back of the neck. Very unnerving. Yeah, I bet it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't get grabbed. I just got scratched. They managed to get to me. It's psychic attacks. They are more. They can be anyway. They can be more mental than physical. There is a physical residue, obviously, because there's marks, and they're usually what they call the sign of the devil or whatever, because they're usually in threes.
Talking of the sign of the devil.
But,
hello. I thought I'd join for the last 2 minutes anyway, but I just want to thank the boys for the bottom of my heart, and I want to thank everybody who supported me through the difficult time I'm having just now. But I really want to thank the boys for obviously taking care of the show. I'll always trust them to take care of the show. I'll quickly run through the last of the comments. On my last investigation, I get grabbed by the back of my neck, very unearthly. Can imagine. Lynn says I pick up energies, though my feet, I know where their bodies, water and tunnels. Oh, that's cool.
Skill.
Hey, Christine. So Kenji has asked, so when this happens, how do you manage to keep a bad spirit away?
Don't acknowledge them. Simply don't acknowledge them. You've got to not enter into that contract and acknowledge them. You've just got to tell yourself in your own mind, I ain't playing these games.
You got to set boundaries with them as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
Basically, you're not having it. Sod off.
And I think you've got to make it.
Yeah, burn some white sage just to annoy them, and then tell them back off.
Yeah.
Was it Ian? Was it you that turned around and said something about smoking sage, or was it Viv? Viv told me something about smoking.
I do that because when you're out publicly investigating public places and you've picked up on a lot of quite negative, it's always nice to sage yourself. And you always look like a bit of an idiot standing on the side of a road by your car.
I was doing like that.
So I came across the idea of putting it in my roll up, and it worked.
What does it do? I mean, I can answer that.
Hey, Lynn. Hey, Rita. Hey, Cliff.
I will actually. I'll answer it. Sage is like a lot of crystals. And again, it's a tangible thing, and it can change the frequency of the atmosphere.
It calms things down.
Yes.
Good advice.
Frequency-wise. So, yeah, it can change the environment totally. That's the way I believe it works anyway. It literally changes the atmosphere, which changes in turn the frequency.
And
Which
negative
Plenty,
energy.
definitely, Lan.
Negative energy to work.
Yeah,
Mhm.
negative energy just don't like it because then you've calmed the situation down.
Yeah,
Definitely,
exactly.
definitely. On Monday, guys, you've got the two Dark Mirror boys doing their thing, talking about aliens as usual. On Tuesday, you've got the Simply Spooky show. Then on Thursday, hey Robin. On Thursday, we will be talking about Tesla, Nikola Tesla. And on Friday, next Friday, we will have Alison Payne, the original guest who was meant to be on last week. We've got her next week, guys. So it will be a jam-packed week. Next is I cannot usage. It makes me, I presume that's ill.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, there's plenty of other
status
things.
of-
Lavender works.
But exactly, I'm allergic to lavender, so I use
Really?
bergamot, which has got similar
Oh, wow.
properties. But, yeah.
Tesla rocks, definitely, Robin. It'll be an interesting one. That'll be
Yeah.
on Thursday at 9 p.m. UK time.
Thanks everybody
Definitely.
for joining us. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for all the questions, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Oh, on Tuesday we're talking about Poltergeist. That'll be good.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting one. But thank you very much, guys. And thank you for everybody that tunes in every week. We appreciate everything that you guys do, and everybody have a good weekend and stay safe. Bye.
Later.